Welcome back, guys, to another edition of the Athletes Hub weekly roundup. A lot to talk about this week, and joining me as always is Mr. Flexx.
Yes. How you doing, guys? How you doing?
All good. It's been an action-packed week, a busy week. I think, as a United fan, it's not been the best week, but then again, we've not had many good weeks in the last 10 years, so I guess it's just another regular shambles, as they call it. But yeah, we had the Carabao Cup games this week. We had also Champions League qualifiers this week as well. And we've also had two high-profile managerial departures in the last 48 hours. So a lot to get through this week. But I guess, listen, let's start with this topic everyone's talking about. I'm sure you've got a few things you want to say to me regarding, the result on Wednesday. And before I let you start, by the way, yes, listen, losing to Grimbsy Town in a Carabao Cup, obviously out now in the second round. Man United playing second round in the Carabao Cup tells you where the club is right now, and obviously finishing 15th last season. But yeah, going out to Grimbsy Town in a Carabao Cup, it was a shock. I think when you put out that lineup that he did, and it's not the first team, I get it, but there's still 4 internationals on that pitch, and you're going to a League Two side away from home. Regardless of the formation everyone's talking about, I'm expecting United to advance through that game. But listen, even if they had won 5 penalties, came back to 2-2, gets a penalty shot, and if they had won that, I don't think it would have been fair on Grimbsy. I don't think United deserved anything from the game, to be honest. But yeah, I think that result just shows you where the club is at the moment. And a lot of people have asked me, what's happened to United? Why are they in a position they're in now? But it's not just because of one result. Grimbsy, there's been a collection of errors for the last 12 years that have led the club to be where it is now. Bad decisions from people in charge, whether it's the ownership, whether it's recruitment, whether it's allocation of contracts. United are a shambles at the moment, on and off the pitch. And despite Ineos coming in and trying to put things right in their mind, a lot of their decision-making has been questionable. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, listen, what do you want to say about the game on Wednesday? I don't know what else I can say, to be honest.
It's crazy because what can be said that hasn't already been said about this United team, right? For me, I just think the manager needs to understand that he can't stick to his principles by way of his tactics. I feel like he needs to be able to adapt, and he needs to understand that English football is not rigid. Even Pep adapts his system and his players for certain games to get certain outcomes, and to be there away at Grimsby, League Two side, and go out with a back 5, for me, is nuts. Grimsby play with their back 4 almost with, it should have been the other way around, right? Grimsby should have been the ones with a back 5 trying to hold off, the attack, that 200 million pound attack that United have got, and it was so not that way. So for me, I feel like Amorim needs to, look, we've got the image of him there trying to work out his tactics and stuff like that. Come on, you surely shouldn't have to be working out tactics against Grimsby. But this is where you are as a club. And for me, I just feel like it's either you persevere and eventually it comes good, or you have to cut your losses. But in cutting your losses means it's like you're starting again so soon, which is also nuts. Do you see what I mean?
The thing is, though, I think, first of all, when it comes to the formation, I don't think the formation against Grimbsy Town, I think United, any team you put out there, the Premier League team, I don't think, regardless of what formation you play, I don't think you should have issues getting past the second round away to Grimbsby. I think the first time I really realised the formation was a massive issue was in the Europa League final, where 1-0 down to Tottenham, and it didn't change. He didn't change anything. And you could tell that, we could need an extra man attacking-wise, but he persisted with 5 at the back. And for me, it was a bit strange to me, because I'm thinking, if you're chasing the game, and this is an important game for us, by the way, you win this game, you get into the Champions League, you can salvage an awful season, and didn't change anything. And to me, that kind of felt as if Like, okay, he's very, very stubborn in what he wants to do. But again, you're looking at from the point of view from a manager who is still quite young as a manager. He's had success playing this system in Portugal, which is different to playing in England, right? Not many coaches come to this country and play three at the back and win a trophy. I think Conte did it at Chelsea. I think he's the only one who's actually managed to do that. Van Gaal did it when he first came to United, and he changed it when he realised it wasn't working. But this manager's he's persistent with this formation. But I think he's either going to live by it and it's going to work, or he's going to fall on his sword and he's going to leave because of that reason. But again, I don't blame Amorim that much, because going back to Ineos don't want to make 3 bad decisions in the year. So you sacked Ten Hag last year after giving him a contract, and he shouldn't have been there, to be honest, after the FA Cup final. You bring in Dan Ashworth to help with the football side of things. He leaves after 2 months being in the job. And now potentially you're going to sack Amorim, who you've come out and said, this is the guy we're going to back, we're going to get behind him. If you're Ineos, you don't want to make 3 bad decisions, because you've already been questioned about not knowing what you're doing, by the way. And if you get rid of this manager underneath a year, right, they're going to look very, very silly. So I think from their perspective, they don't want to make the change. But again, it comes from the results, right? If you're not getting results, they're going to make a change. So from the club's perspective, the last thing they want to do is look silly and get rid of Amorim after coming out, paying Ten Hag a lot of money to sack him, paying Dan Ashworth a lot of money to get him out of his contract, and potentially paying Amorim a lot of money to get him out of his contract as well. So the club don't want to do that. But at the same time, though, if you've spoken to Amorim and you've done the background research on your coach who you want to bring into your football club, right? I'm understanding that this manager plays this formation. He's done it. He's built a team off of it. He's had success for that reason. He would have spoken to the club and said, listen, this is the way I'm going to come and play it. We're going to recruit this type of player. In 2 or 3 years' time, we're going to have a team like we have at Sporting Lisbon that's high energy, can play this formation really, really well. And this manager doesn't change. The coach does not change. So for me to then sack him because of that is baffling to me. Because if you're a football club, you would have known this before you brought him in, if that makes sense.
I agree. I
agree.
agree.
So for you to then sack a manager because it doesn't change, but hang on a minute, when he explained your philosophy in the interview, you admired him for that. You respected it. That's the reason why you brought him into the job in the first place. So if he's then for you to then get rid of him because of that reason, for me would be baffling. And that's the reason why Ineos don't want to make a change, because they've got 2 decisions wrong already. They brought in Dan Ashworth, didn't work. Gave Ten Hag a new contract, shouldn't have done that, and he got sacked. If you're going to get rid of a manager who you've invested a lot of money in, by the way, in the summer, £200 million, and you sack him before October, I'm sorry, but if you're Ineos, I've got no faith in you after that. Because
I have a question for you, though. I have a question. Yeah. How do you feel as a fan? You get this manager, and it seems that almost every opportunity he tries to find a way out. What does that make you think as a fan?
As a fan, it shows me that you can't rely on the manager, because if you're coming out and telling us that sometimes you hate the club, sometimes you want to quit, sometimes you want to stay, if I'm an owner, if I'm hiring you, that's not a mentality I want to see, because that's telling me you're going to throw the towel when it gets easier. You're there to fix the problem. There's a problem at United. There has been for years, and you're there to fix it. But it shows that his interviews recently shows that maybe he's fed up, or maybe he's frustrated, clearly. But I wouldn't want to see that type of person in my dugout. But don't forget, though, we've had managers like Van Gaal, Mourinho, who've tried to change the culture, who come across as they're how can I say it? They're stern. They've got boundaries. They demand things from the team. The players didn't respond to that. The players wanted those players out, and those managers out. So when you hear people saying, Mourinho potentially being on the market now and him coming back, no, I wouldn't have back Oli or Mourinho, because when they were there at the time, people moaned and said, "Oh, it's a boring style of football. He doesn't suit the philosophy of the football club. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he's a legend. He shouldn't be there. He's just there because he scored a goal in '99." Why did now the solution to the football club? If they were that bad at the time, why did now a solution? So I hate when people make this comparison. Again, Ten Hag saying, "Oh, you won 2 trophies, this and the other." When he was there, everyone moaned. Said, "You know what he's trying to do? What's his philosophy? What's he trying to play?" So why are these managers now being compared to Amorim? Because when they were there at the time, people didn't think they were good enough. So that's what I don't understand about football. Do you know what I mean? When these managers were there, you didn't appreciate them. Now you're comparing their achievements to a current manager who's there now, who's been there for 8 months, right? So when Mourinho was there trying to get boundaries, trying to demand respect, trying to get standards back at the football club, we all moaned and said that he's miserable. He's taking a joy at the football club. He's negative, but that's what the club needed. But they weren't backed at the time. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. You know
I mean? So it's United have a big problem. I said to you before, it's not just one issue. It's not just losing at Grimbsy Town. It's a collation of errors over 12 years. Sacking managers when they should have been backed, hiring the wrong manager at the wrong time, bringing in the wrong players, giving out ridiculous contracts. These are all issues that have kind of become some sort of, when you pour all of it into a cake mixture, you're going to get a crap cake. Your cake's going to come, it's going to be crap because you haven't got the right ingredients in there. And that's what United have done. They bought maybe one manager who's been there for more than 3 years or 2.5 years.
I honestly can't, but this is what I'm going to give to you, right? So you're now, Ineos, and what's your next move? Like, where do we go from here?
Firstly, I want to see if the manager's committed to what he's doing. If you're not committed and you haven't thoughts about quitting the job, then we need to know, because that means that you're not. We brought you in because there's a problem at the football club, and you can't solve the problem. So that means that you shouldn't be there. So I would probably say, if they can beat Burnley on Saturday, right, I think that will buy him a bit of time because he needs to get a win. But I need to know from the manager that you're committed and you actually want to do the job. Because if you haven't thoughts about quitting and you're not committed, I can't rely on you. I'll be paying you a lot of money to do this job, and you've come in there to solve the problem. Yes, we'll stick with you, but you're not. If you're not getting results, it's hard to. The problem at United is there's no opportunity to have a transition because every loss is a crisis. Every period where they're losing games, there's just too much scrutiny on the football club. So you don't have a chance to build something because after 2 years, people get fed up or they change. So how do you build something? But going back to your question, I'd ask him, do you want to do this job? If you do, we'll back you. We believe
and so he says he does, and then the game against Burnley happens, and then you lose. You still back him?
I think we have to see what it's like after the Chelsea and Man City game. Chelsea and Man City games, I think if we get past, because again, United last season did okay in the big games. They stood up, they did all right. So maybe we might get a result against City or Chelsea. I'll say let's get past City and Chelsea. Let's see where we are. If we're seeing something and the team's back together, then let's persist with it. But he needs to get results. I want him to do well, and I think he should be given time because we can't keep, as you mentioned before, recycling, starting this whole thing again. Mm-hmm. But if you don't get results, they can't. There's just too much scrutiny on the football club to give you that time. You know what I mean? So it's tough, man. It's tough. But I mean, Carabao Cup games this week. West Ham losing again. We spoke about West Ham last week. I mean,
they were ahead as well.
Yeah. I mean, we look at Potter. I mean, we spoke about him last week and what West Ham have got to do. Where do you, if they don't sign any players for the remainder of the transfer window, where do you see them finishing the season?
I think they get relegated, and if they don't get relegated, they will be just above. Like literally clinging on for dear life because Jared Bowen and Paqueta found form at the right time. That's literally how I see it. Even I hear that Paqueta could be off to Tottenham, but I don't know if that's dependent on the Xavi Simons deal or if they can get both. I don't know. But it's not looking good,
If you're West Ham, though, do you want to sell? You sold Kudos to Tottenham. Do you really want to sell Paqueta to Tottenham as well? I mean,
you don't. You really don't. But you know how the game go, man. Money speaks. They say 60 million is the price. If 60 million comes about, they might have to take it. They might already be thinking about next season in the Championship. So,
it's true. It's true. But I mean, Championship of West Ham, I mean, I don't know if that would work. I mean, they've got a stadium now, that new stadium, and they've got some decent players. I mean, they're not all bad, but for West Ham to get relegated, I think that would be a nightmare for the football club.
It would be a nightmare. I think they'll just survive because I feel like the teams that came up, it'll be a bit of a battle, but they won't be far off going. And again, if they go, I won't be surprised.
Yeah. I agree there. I agree. I mean, Garnacho to Chelsea, that looks like that's done now. Well, it's going to be done quite soon.
Yeah.
Sure. I know we've spoken about him previously on our previous show. I mean, he's a talented player. He's a good player. But what do you expect from him? Because we've seen what he can do in glimpses at United, but there's still a question about his attitude. So what do you kind of expect from him at Chelsea?
I expect him to beat a man and have terrible end product. That's the truth. You know what I mean? That's. I don't even know why we're getting him, to be totally honest, because we have how many wingers at the club? We don't need another one.
Is Cole Palmer injured?
Cole Palmer is injured, but
Yeah.
Garnacho is not a 10. Do you
Mm.
see what I mean? So it's one of those transfers where I look at it and I say, well, to me, he's not a Chelsea player. That's just how I see it. But then again, look, the manager's from his country. Maybe he can get the best out of him. Maybe as he matures, he gets better and his attitude gets better, these type of things. I think he thinks he's better than what he actually is,
Yeah.
which is,
Yeah.
I think, is his downfall at the minute.
Mm.
But we'll see. We'll see. He's got a job to do. He's got to be able to break into that 11 now. The
Yeah.
team is doing pretty decent. So when he gets his opportunity, let's see what he does with it.
Yeah, true. So yeah, obviously Man United, West Ham out of the Carabao Cup this week. There was also some Champions League football as well. So obviously this is the stage now where the draw was made yesterday, but prior to that there were qualification games for it. And I guess the biggest news of the week was Celtic and Rangers going out, quite early, I guess. I mean, Rangers losing to Club Brugge. Russell Martin's just taken over for about 2 months. It is had a lot of pressure so far from the Rangers fans. Hasn't done that great so far in the league, and obviously an early exit in the Champions League, and obviously Celtic going out as well to Farrier. When you look at Celtic and Rangers in the Champions League, do you think they're just taking up a spot? Because I don't ever recall either Celtic or Rangers doing that great in the Champions League. To be honest, I don't recall them doing anything at all.
There was that time where Celtic beat Barcelona, but otherwise,
Yeah.
it hasn't really been, something that's, they're not worth the time. Let's just be honest.
Yeah. Probably was. I don't think they're not that great. I mean, they've had. You're right. They beat Barcelona. Rangers have had a couple of nights where they've beaten opposition, like when United have gone in the 2000s and stuff like that. But we look at Celtic and Rangers. Are we really looking at teams that can compete in the Champions League? Because there was also talk years ago about potentially having those two teams in the Premier League, and them. And I mean, listen, if that was happening.
They'll get relegated. I mean, let's just be honest. They'll get relegated.
Well, now, hang on. If you look at the team Celtic used to have in the 2000s, with like Henrik Larsson, Chris Sutton up front, Neil Lennon, do you think that team could actually do something?
They'll get relegated. I mean, let's be honest, right? They have to get up for one game. Well, they have to get up for one team twice a season. That's it. Or maybe 3 times if there's a cup competition or whatever.
Yeah.
But in a 38 game, calendar where every team is dangerous, they'll get relegated. They will, So I just, for me, the league is too weak for them to be of any real threat to, compete in the Champions League. It's just
what about in if they're in a championship, do you think they would survive? The championship, they play a lot of games, and it's not a given there.
It's really 42 games, 43 games, something like that. I feel like they'll be like a yo-yo team. They'll go down there, they'll get up, then they'll get relegated, and just up and down. You know what I mean? That's what I think. But I don't know why, but they need to figure out how they can fund Scottish football better. That way we can see, an improved league and then better players and these type of things. But even then, I just think, well, if you can't buy better players, how is it that you're not able to develop better players within the league and the leagues below? So I think there's a whole lot of work to be done with Scottish football as a whole.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like, again, we had a stint in the 2000s where they had decent players, particularly at Rangers and Celtic. I think Arteta was at Rangers. I think he began there before going to Everton. I think, obviously, Henrik Larsson was like the standout player in that league for many years. Quality player when it's for Barcelona and obviously Man United. But I agree. I think the quality again, you're right. They only have to. They compete against one team, Rangers, and vice versa. I mean, if you finish above Rangers, you finish above Celtic, you're going to win the Scottish Premiership. And the lack of competition is probably harming it. And when you go into European football, where it's not just about European football is different because it's all tactical and it's all about margins, isn't it? It's really detailed. And again, with a manager like Brendan Rodgers, who is a good manager, a good coach, for you to get knocked out at that stage was a shock, to be honest. And obviously Rangers struggling at the moment, losing, was it Was it 9-1 on aggregate to Club
I
Brugge?
don't even know. I
I think
legit didn't.
so. Something like that, which is ridiculous, really, to be honest. And obviously, Russell Martin's gone in there still new in the job, and he's not getting any sympathy from the fans so far. So it'll be interesting to see how they go on for the rest of the season. But we mentioned beforehand Jose Mourinho and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Yeah.
And those two currently at the moment, as we speak, have no job because they were both let go from their positions. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was sacked at Besiktas almost, I think, probably half an hour after they exited the Champions League midweek as well. And Fenerbahce sacked Jose Mourinho after he failed to qualify for the Champions League as well. We talk about Jose Mourinho. I mean, we spoke about this before we came on, and this is a manager he's a legendary manager, legendary coach. And you mentioned the fact that his legacy, why is he still going for these jobs? Why is he putting himself in these positions to, I guess, be embarrassed, I suppose?
Yeah.
Do you ever see Jose getting back into a top job in European football?
Man, he's going to have to get hold of a sleeping giant. I think that's his only way back in. And it's difficult, because United was that sleeping giant and he did okay. He got the Europa League, FA Cup. So he did okay. But in European football, he went to Roma. Again, he did okay, got the Conference League, these type of things. So I think that's his only way back. I think he shouldn't meddle too much with those obscure teams like Fenerbahce and, whatnot, because it just starts to hurt the brand, And for me, as a fan of Mourinho as well, I would say, just don't. Maybe go into the international scene and pick up after the World Cup or something, there will be loads of managers that, move on and what have you. And then just settle at that level, and then see what you can do there.
Yeah. Do you feel like people say that his legacy has been tarnished because of what happened at obviously United and Tottenham, and he won a trophy at AS Roma, but going to Fenerbahce and struggling there as well. People say that his reputation's not. I mean, if you're an owner now, would you hire him for a top job? Like, would you still hire Jose Mourinho for a top job?
It's a hard one, and it depends on where your team currently is by way of the types of players you have there. Where are you in the table? What are your aspirations in the next 18 to 24 months? All of these different things will determine whether you pick up the phone and give Jose a call or you look for someone else, because I feel like if you've got like a nice big bankroll that's there and, you're happy to spend, I don't know, 200-300 million in one window, then maybe like, I don't know, a Newcastle or something like that before Eddie Howe went would have been a good opportunity. They had the P's, they could have done something that could have worked. But right now, I don't know, man. I just feel like the international scene is probably where he should be. Find a top nation, go do your thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think manage Portugal. I think Portugal is like destined for him to manage. I think that's probably he should be his next, probably his last job in football. If he feels like retirement's coming close, I think take the Portugal job, try and win the World Cup or the Euros. I think Jose Mourinho is a very good cup manager. He's won trophies everywhere. He's won domestic cups. He's won the Europa League, Conference League, Champions League. Not many managers have done that. So Jose knows how to win the trophy. So I feel like I'm again agree with you. Find an international club, international team. Try and get that on your resume as well. And if he gets that, I feel like again Jose is one of the greatest managers ever. Regardless 100%. Of he's what he's done at Tottenham United, he still won trophies at United. And he could have won a trophy at Tottenham, but he was sacked before the final.
Yeah.
So, I mean, which was bizarre to me. But Jose is still a top class coach. But again, I agree. I think it comes down to the situation of a football club, what they want to do, and how much money they've got to give him. Managers are great. These managers like Jose, Pep, they're good managers. But let's be honest, they need funds. They need the funds. The right players. They need the tools to do what they need to do. So I think maybe like a Villa as well. But I think Villa's position, they maybe want, if they were interested. Emery's a great coach, but if he was to leave, Jose could probably slot in there perfectly, in my opinion, to do what he's got to do. What about Solskjaer? What's your opinions on Solskjaer? A lot of people criticize, like I mentioned earlier, about him being at United, saying that he's just a legend, that's why he's there, and didn't do great at Cardiff. Went to Besiktas, obviously he's been sacked now. What's your thoughts on Ollie?
I mean, look, United, that was a job for the boys. Do you see what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's one of those, you know.
Mhm.
But hey, look, man, he loves football. He's just trying to find his way in the game. You know, you take the opportunities that are in front of you and see what you can do with it, and try and build a decent resume and
Mm.
to have a stepping stone to get to your destination. You know, it's not easy for these guys that we've watched as players now becoming managers. And to be fair, I don't think any of them have done well. You know, we've seen Gerrard and what that was like. We've seen Lampard and what that was like, although he's doing much better now at Coventry. So it just goes to show that probably you need to start at a much lower level, you know, and then just kind of find your way, build yourself up into those bigger roles. You know, I think Michael Carrick had been doing pretty decent at Middlesbrough and so on. So these type of things. So yeah, I mean, look, we'll see what the future has for him. You know, he's decent. You know, he came in, you know, legend, lift up the morale of the players, the club, the fans. You know, injected a bit of hope. But you know, it seems like for United, the job is too big for anyone. I don't
Mm.
think it's you know, it's I don't think it's a a thing of personnel. You know, I just like you said, like things have gone wrong for so long that you know maybe it's not just a one man thing to kind of resolve this you know puzzle that is become you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, um,
Yeah, I agree. It's not a personal thing. It's a like I mentioned, it's a collection of errors which has led them to be where they are now. And mismanagement at different levels, players getting United used to be an exclusive football club, a club that you wouldn't let anyone in. You wouldn't let just anybody in. You had to deserve it. You had to be prestige. You had to have, you know, red levels. You had bronze, silver, gold. You had to be gold to get into United at that time. But now they're just opening the door to anyone, and they've come in there. They're not respecting the club, the history, and you give them on big money, and this is where they are now. This is where they are
yeah,
now. So
yeah.
yeah, but it's United's a bit of a mess and a long story. But here's a question to finish up with, though: who's the best former player turned manager in the last 10 years, in your opinion?
That's Pep Guardiola, no?
Mm. Yeah,
But
I wouldn't disagree. I think you probably say Zidane. Madrid winning all those Champions Leagues, you could probably say Zidane's done well.
I mean, he won those champions. He did well, but if you say like number one and has had dominance in every league he's gone to, there's only one name. You
Pep
know, there
Guardiola.
is really only one name that stands out, and yeah, that's
Do
who.
you think he's the greatest manager of all time?
You know what? I would say, you know, when we do that GOAT conversation, I think we have to respect eras as well. And I think where you have the era of Ferguson, man management, and these type of things, that was one way, you know, and then you've got another way, which is, you know, Pep and his style of play and these things. So I think in his era, he's the greatest of all time. In his era, with
Mm.
his cohort. But to say he's the greatest football manager of all time, I don't think even he would say he is, because they would say he probably referred to Cruyff as
Mm.
probably the greatest. You know, I know Jose refers to Bobby Robson as the greatest. You know, so I think, yeah, everyone and their respected cohort and their respected era. Yeah, that's how I would look
Yeah.
to break it down. For me personally, because I grew up and watched Jose mostly, you know, and for me, Jose was battling it out more so with Ferguson and Wenger and so on. I'm more that era. Do you
Mm.
see what I mean?
Yeah.
But if we're talking, you know, this era right now, yeah, I think he's the best there is. But then you've got Ancelotti, you know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
who's of who's of the previous era, who is
Mhm.
still in this era, and he's cut across
Yeah.
quite nicely. Do you see what I mean? So it's hard. What would you say?
Yeah, I think that's a fair answer. I agree with you. I feel like, me personally, I feel like with Pep Guardiola, if you're a manager and you can influence the way that football's played in this era, if you can be a manager and put down principles that everybody else wants to follow,
Yeah,
you are you have to be considered one of the greatest of all time. To be honest with
yeah,
you, because to have that much influence on the game and everybody essentially in the league follows what you're doing, Like that's for me. That's levels. You know what I mean? That's massive levels. But I agree. I think it depends on eras, to be honest with you. And I think for me, I have four. I've got Ferguson, Mourinho, Ancelotti, and Pep. I think those four, since I've been watching football, always winning the big trophies, always in and amongst it, not just domestically but European levels as well. And they've all got distinctive impacts on the game, if that makes sense.
You didn't put Wenger in there.
Wenger's a great coach, but if I'm comparing him to Pep, Jose, Ferguson, and Ancelotti, they've all won European Cups.
Fair.
They've all won European Cups, and they've all won more than one European Cup, by the way.
Fair enough.
Do you know what I mean? And Ancelotti, look at Ancelotti's resume. He's managed Madrid, Milan, Bayern Munich, all these characters. You know, these are all managers who, at some point in time, changed how football was played or had a massive influence on the game, right? Whether it's, like I said, Ferguson about management, Pep's style of football, Ancelotti, the way he manages players, and Mourinho, again, came to the Premier League, and in his first season, he destroyed the league in his first season.
Yeah,
and he does that. He does that. Do you know what I mean? So listen, I think we should have this conversation again, though, in the next episode, because it's an interesting one and everyone has their own opinions. But yeah, Flexx, it's been good today. It's been good to get all that stuff off my chest regarding United and all that. Do you know what I mean? But listen, guys, again, let us know in the comments. What do you think about our show today? Do you agree with my comments on United? Do you think the manager should go? Should he stay? Who would you replace Amorim with if you were Ineos? And yeah, again, keep in touch, guys. Subscribe, like our content. We're on TikTok now as well. Don't forget, follow us on Instagram. And we'll see you again next week.
Yeah, we'll catch you guys next week.
Right. Take care, man.
See ya.